Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm David with Softron. Now today I want to talk about the traffic option for on-the-air video, because a lot of you are already using on-the-air video for your master control, so a 24/7 365 playout. Now what the traffic option does is allows you to import schedules from third-party apps such as Wide Orbit or ProTrack. That traffic option has support for the WOS file and the .scd file. And we can also take BXF playlists where you might get something like that from the ProTrack by Myers system. So when users have something like Wide Orbit or ProTrack, they expect a lot of features in their playback solution. So we have an article on our website that shows all the features and all the details of what they do, but I wanted to cover it in this video so you can see it in action and explain it a little bit more. So you can go to the website and you can find this article, but I'm going to start it off. Now what you're looking at right now is a Wide Orbit playlist that I've then turned into an on-the-air video playlist. Now we have all these clips in here, we have live items, we have all the notes that are coming from this Wide Orbit document. So let's talk about one of the most important tools to this whole system, and that's the media browser. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to settings and inside media. So this is where we're going to set the media folder. And then once we've set that, we're going to set it to catalog media folder. Now I'll go into a different video about remote options, and that's going to discuss when you would use catalog media folder and maybe when you wouldn't have local media browser. But for this purpose, let's just say that it's just one single channel and one local media browser. Okay, once that is set, we can go to Window and Media Browser. And so here's all the information about all the clips. And so that includes the finder label, the description, in and out points, the duration, and of course, whether it's been modified. Okay, so I've brought back our playlist and we can see our clips. So let's go to this one and I'm going to say reveal in media browser. So there is our clip and I'm going to open it in Clip Inspector. Now it's interesting to watch on the timeline as I make changes here, it'll immediately change in our playlist. So when I do a mark in, we see the time has changed. If I make a new mark out, we see the time has changed immediately. And we see that in the media browser in the playlist. And it's good to know that every playlist that has this clip and every time that clip plays in the playlist, it will suddenly change. They'll get all the updates because it's all coming from the media browser. So now I'm clearing my in and out points, and it's good to know there's other attributes as well, even audio gain, so I can change audio to be louder or softer, and I can set it back with just a simple click. So let's close that. Now, Media Browser isn't just finding files, it's also helping sort and make new files. If you're using something like a media delivery service, they're probably sending you segmentation data. Media Browser will automatically read those files. It'll get the description and in and out points. It will automatically build the segments inside the media browser. That will then tell the playlist that the file is available. And of course, you don't have to only do it via the BXF file. You can also just click on a file and say duplicate, and we're going to start making virtual copies. So I can make multiple versions of in and out points of segments. So I'm going to continue following the article I was telling you about. So we have the live sources right here. So I'm going to go to virtual sources. So virtual sources is how we're able to define what happens when there's a live event inside of the playlist. And so now we can say, is this a live source? What is the physical live input? But then we can go on to define some attributes. So here I have a default duration of 100 seconds, and I say clip end behavior is hold, meaning the studio, that live studio 1, is now in control of this live clip, and they have a GPI input set to 2. That means if your schedule says it's going to be 5 minutes, the hold means it can run longer. And that GPI input is only live when the studio is live through our system. So if they're not on the air, they can hit GPI input 2 all they want and it'll never advance. And so let's look at Live Studio 2. Again, another hold, GPI input 3. So since they're assigned to 3, if they had the trigger 2 and they're live, it's not going to do anything. So that's really good. If you have 2 studios, they can't trigger advances. And of course, if they're not on the air, they're not going to advance your master control playlist because we're not listening to that GPI. if they're not on the air. So going back to Live Studio 1, we then have this switch action. And so the switch action will then control your router. It's going to choose your source and then, of course, your destination, and it's going to route that automatically. Why the switch action is important and a little bit more intelligent is that's going to happen 8 seconds before. But if it is already live using that router input, it's going to know that and it's going to wait until it actually needs to happen. So it won't ever route the source too early. Okay, the before start action, again, it's going to happen always 8 seconds in advance. So this might be good if you want to do a cue light. And as you see, the next action, we have a tally light that turns on. And at the end, we do a tally light off. So there's a lot of different things you can configure. We have some people who do Slack messages. So when the studio goes live, they know the time they went live, and then they do another one when the studio ends, when it goes off air. That way they know if they've done breaking news and exactly what time they went on and off. So you see here to set the thumbnail. That's where I set the Studio 1, and that's going to show up in my playlist. If I want to add a live event to my playlist, I just need to simply drag it and it shows up. So it's very common in a traffic system, they will give you something called a secondary event. So that could be a SCSI message, it could be triggering graphics such as logos or snipes, and support for a lot more things. So for us, we do the same thing, that secondary event. We take the position time that's offered inside of the BXF or the wide orbit document, and we can execute a script or a user action. So the schedule works a little bit differently, where we can just view the folder where all these documents are being saved from your traffic system. So now I'm just going to go to scheduling, open the schedule. And so I have some BXF files here. I'll click open and we have our documents. All right, looking back at our playlist, we have these bold times right here. And those are very important because those are clock start events. That means right at 7 a.m. and right at 8 a.m., this event is going to occur no matter what. And it's good to know that you can enable and disable all clock start items simply by pressing this new button right here, not seen in the normal on-the-air video playlist. So that's really good if you want to have these clock start items, you want to write them in, but maybe you're in a sports event and you don't want to delete your data, you just want to disable them so it's not going to interrupt. Very simple for the operator just to disable or enable once they're ready. And of course, when we're talking about clock start items, there's always the other question, what about join in progress? Very easy. We have join in progress right here. And with the join in progress, you can also do this via the API as well. Going down the list in the article, there's replace by ID. Now, we've all seen this in master control situations where you have one commercial that's bad, or maybe the client doesn't want to run it, or you don't have it and you're not going to get it for the entire day. And I can say replace by ID, and I can say what the clip I want it to be. But I can also say replace every occurrence. And so it's found that there's 3 other times it's in this playlist. And when I hit replace, you'll see it's immediately changed. Speaking of bad files, we need the purge list. So when you have the purge list, you can open it up and we have different files we can support here, from a DAT file to a basic text file. So let's look at one here. And you can see it's opened it up and it says the status. So that means, is the file going to be played? Because we'll actually check ahead on the current playlist and the next day's playlist whether that file is being called in those playlists. So it'll let you know that you're going to run into an issue. Then you can, of course, see if there's a file here you didn't mean to delete, you can remove it. And then you can delete the files. It's going to tell you, and it's going to do it anyways. And they've been deleted. All right, let's discuss validation reports. So the validation report is going to compare your traffic file compared to the playlist. And so this is going to report when there's underruns, so there would be black on the air, if there's a different time from what the schedule said versus what the playlist is reporting from the media browser. And so it's really great because you can just click on show and it's going to take you to that event in the playlist, and it'll take you to these different items. But if you also want to filter it out, so you don't want to see warnings for something that isn't a commercial, I can hide all of these. And now it's just going to tell me when a commercial has the wrong time. But of course, anything at a critical level of alert is still going to be inside of this validation report. So let's set this back. And I can just easily click on these ones to filter those out as well. What's really nice is you can then search for items, but you can also print it out. And we have a lot of people who will use the print feature and then they will export it as a PDF. That way they can prove the work they've done when they first originally received the playlist and at the end of the day how they had the playlist, so that when they go to the next person on the next 24-hour shift, they know the work has been done. So I've covered all the features on this article except the last point, which is remote control. Remote control is a whole other beast, really, because there are so many features inside of that. Because we can remotely control another on-the-air video, we can remotely control multiple on-the-air videos and control them, and we can change media, we can change the positions of the playlist. There's really a lot we're doing there. So I want to have that all detailed in a separate video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions or you want to look up information, make sure to go to the softron.tv website. Thanks for watching.